Hi, I'm James White. I'm the UK's leading prospect conversion expert. And my passion is helping small business owners who don't enjoy this traditional sales process or are new to sales get real sales success. In today's video, we're just going to talk through some of the questions that I've been asked on social media, via my YouTube channel, via my Twitter feed, people have got regarding sales. And I thought, well, what better idea than answering some questions that you guys have around sales situations or prospect situations to give you my thoughts on how you can achieve those results. So in the video, we're going to talk through a couple of the questions that people have got and give you some answers that I think can help you on your way. Okay, so the first question I've had is from someone called Lorna. And it's a great question actually, Lorna, when you think about it, which is how long should I leave it until I follow up with a prospect? So this is a question that people come to me with a lot, and it's a difficult one in some cases to answer, but it's also an easy one to answer. People don't want to feel that they're being pushy or engaging with a prospect that's, too much. But actually, the key thing you've got to make sure you do is in the first conversation with the prospect, set out the next steps and the key things that are going to happen. So what I would say to you is in order to prevent that situation of not knowing how long you should leave it, when you engage with the prospect for the first time and you're having a conversation with them and you're talking to them, or maybe you've had a meeting with them, the key thing is at the end of that meeting is to be very clear about what's going to happen next. And so, for example, if that involves a next conversation to happen, be very clear that says, how does next Thursday at 4 p.m. work for you to have a conversation? Or how about we meet at next Friday at 2 p.m.? Be very clear about what it is you're going to do once you leave that prospect, so the prospect knows what's going to happen and you know. And that should hopefully then save the worry of having to know when you should follow up with the prospect in the first place. Now, if you haven't had that conversation and you haven't been in a position where you've been that clear, what I would say to you is, how long does your sales cycle take? So if, for example, you're selling, a product that maybe can take 3 to 6 months for a person or prospect to actually engage with you to then buy, following up every 2 or 3 days doesn't make sense. They're not going to go through that stage in the process that quickly. But if your product is probably something you sell within a couple of weeks, then maybe a call every 2 or 3 days will make sense. So you need to look at what is right for your industry and what's right for your business. And I would do that based upon your average sales cycle. So look at that, see how long it takes you to convert. And if you're generally working with someone from maybe a month to 6 weeks to convert them from a prospect to a customer, then maybe looking to follow up with them once a week or certainly on a weekly basis to then see how they're going and what they're doing is a good way in which to engage and a good timeline. Bear in mind, it's not your prospect's job to engage with you. It's your job as the business person or the salesperson to work with them. People are busy. They've got lots of things going on in their lives. So they're going to maybe forget about you and what you do. But be honest, you've got to make sure you're front of their mind. So a regular call, a regular email, a regular engagement with them is going to help you a lot. So hopefully that helps in terms of being able to know how long it is to leave it until you follow up with a prospect. Do the work initially if you can in the first meeting to make sure you're clear about the next steps. But if you're not, then look at it depending on your sales cycle, what's required for your business. But the key thing is make sure you make those calls. Be diligent, be focused, make sure you follow up. And if you do, you've got a better chance of getting those sales results. Okay, so the second question I've had from Pete is another great question that people have when it comes to prospects and how to engage them. So Pete's question is this: a prospect is showing buying signals but hasn't signed up yet. What should I do? So great question, Pete. And this is always a challenge sometimes when you're engaging with prospects. I've been there myself where you've literally got a deal you think is literally about to happen. And then for some reason, it just doesn't quite happen at that time scale. And you get a bit frustrated and you try and understand what's actually going on. And one of the key things I say to people is try and understand, I believe there are 4 P's of prospect delay. And there's some videos that I'll link at the bottom of this video, which are really useful, hopefully, for you to be able to understand why a prospect may make a delay. But I think there are 4 key reasons why people just delay from making that final buying decision. And what your goal and job is to identify which one of those 4 it is, and then be in a position where you can remove some of those challenges and obstacles in order to get that business. So what's number 1? The first one is it's a pain point. Is this enough of a pain point for them, the product or service that you sell? And if it's not, then the reality is it's going to be, they may be interested in buying your product or service, but it may take them a little bit longer. It may be a nice thing for them to do rather than something that's really going to be a pain for them. Think about, if you've got backache or toothache, you don't want to delay going to the chiropractor or the dentist. I've had backache myself recently, and I'll tell you now, I couldn't wait to get on that chair and get someone helping me. So understand their pain point and how important and key your product is in their pain point is a real key factor to know whether the prospect's going to make a decision straight away. Another key thing I talk to people around is around the priority. So ultimately, and I learned this in my career when I was selling computer networking equipment. I thought what we offered was a really great product and service until one day someone said to me, actually, what you sell is around 10% of my job. And I thought, wow, 10% of that my job, that's huge. For them, it's huge for me to know that, because actually that means 90% of their day is not even thinking around what I do or actually what we offer. So where in their priority list is what you offer? Is it something high up their agenda that they want to make happen? Or is it something that's generally a lower priority for them? And again, understanding where you fit within that and asking questions regarding that. Where does this fit in your priority list is a really good question to ask. Or maybe asking to the prospect, is there other projects that you're doing ahead of what we're offering here? Is another good way to engage with them to make sure that you find out. Because the business may still happen, but it just may not happen at the timescales that you want it to happen. And that's a key thing sometimes that frustrates us. The third issue that I also talk to people about is actually the passion. Is what you do, or actually what you offer, a real passion for them, or is this just something they've got to do to tick the box? Because if you can make what you offer and sell something that's really going to help them, it's a passion for them to save the environment, or it's a passion for them to save money, or whatever it is that you do, that's also going to be a big factor in terms of working with that prospect and bringing them over the line. And the fourth point here is about, is it personal for them? Regardless of whatever we might think, people still buy from people. And realistically, that prospect, how personal is this for them? I.e., when they go to sleep at night, do they think about the issue that you're trying to solve with your product? Because if they do, and it's become a personal thing for them to get resolved, then actually they're going to be more likely to make that conversation and make that call to buy the product or service you have. But if actually this isn't particularly personal for them, it's not something that keeps them awake at night, it's not something they worry about, then the chances are you're going to have to work that bit harder to actually get that business over the line. The key thing in all of these areas around the prospect is to show the value of what it is you can do and the problem that you can help them solve. Because if you don't show the value in what you offer and you can't identify exactly what you're going to do to solve their issue, the chances are it's going to be delayed for a long, long period of time to come. So buying signals are great. It's great that you get people interested in what it is you do, but you've got to find out which of those 4 key P's, priority, pain, passion, and personnel, are the key ones for that prospect. And if you identify that, you're going to be in a better position to convert that business when you want to, but hopefully move the prospect from being interested into a buying customer. So the next question, a great question we've got from Jenny, who basically said, and this is something I know affects lots of business people and lots of salespeople on a regular basis. James, I get flustered when I speak with prospects. Help. Jenny, I have to say to you that we all go through this process of feeling a little bit nervous and a little bit tense around when we're having a conversation with prospects. There's someone who also said to me once, if it's important and it means something to you, then you're going to feel nervous. And of course, if you're engaging with a prospect that's got an opportunity of business, you're going to want to feel that set of nerves because you want to win that project in the first place. The key thing I say to people when you engage with prospects is to do a couple of things. Firstly, is to actually just take your time to try and breathe and really think positively about who you are and what you do and the problem that you solve. You're good at what you do. You obviously make a difference to the prospects and customers that you work with. And your product or service is good once it gets deployed. And we've got to keep those positive thoughts in your mind as a key element. The second thing is to actually be prepared for the conversations that you're going to have. The reason we all get flustered is because sometimes we're not prepared for actually dealing with a situation or a circumstance or a response that we don't like. But if you've got the right frameworks in front of you in terms of the type of rejection that you may get to see, and I've got a great video that I use in terms of rejection and how you can handle those rejections. If you've got a framework that can handle the typical scenarios that you get when your prospects engage with you, you're going to be in a better position not to get flustered when they come up with a response that you don't know how to handle, but you're going to know, yes, I know what that response is, and my typical response back to that situation is as follows. So many business owners don't have what I would call those objection frameworks in place that enable them to really respond in the right way. And if you do, you're going to know that's coming. It's a bit like if I actually came into a situation and tapped you on the shoulder and you didn't know about it, you're going to get a bit nervous and flustered by it. But if actually you knew someone was going to come into the room and tap you on the shoulder, you'd be expecting it, you can turn around and then deal with it in a certain way. So being flustered, of course it happens, but be prepared, be confident in actually what it is you do and what you offer. And the third thing that I say to people all the time is try not to take it personally. This isn't someone about trying to offend you, or even if that person says no or they're not interested, they don't purposely hate you as a person. They're just actually in that position, not ready to buy at that time. So don't take it personally, just let it ride. You're going to engage with lots and lots of people over the course of your sales journey. And as I always say to people in business and sales, you're going to kiss a few frogs before you find a prince. So the reality is you've just got to be prepared that, do you know what? I'm going to be positive. I'm going to want this call to go well. I'm going to be prepared for the conversation that I'm going to have. And do you know what? If it turns out to be a frog, that's life, that happens. But guess what? It could be a prince. And if it's a prince, I know I'm onto something great, which is going to make my business fly. So there are 3 great questions that I've had in, which I really enjoyed. And thanks guys for spending the time to come back to me with those questions. And I hope the answers that I've given are useful. But if you've got other questions that you think, I'm not sure how to handle that situation or what to do, then send them in. On a weekly basis, I'm going to be creating videos and replying to queries and questions that you've got that can enable you to sell more effectively and to win more business. My passion is helping you turn those spreadsheet numbers into actual numbers. And you can do that by getting better skills and having better information and better knowledge to win more business. So I'm James White, I'm the UK's leading prospect conversion expert. It's been my pleasure to share some thoughts with you on a video today on how I can help you deal with some of the sales and prospecting questions you have. I look forward to sharing more thoughts with you soon.